Hi, I'm Gavin from Authentic Human, and today I'm going to teach you how to make a Durban curry. I'm from Durban, South Africa, and I grew up eating this kind of a dish all the time. We had a very big Indian population in Durban, and this is a very simple curry to make, and I'm going to show you just how to do it. So there's as many curries as there are days in the year. This is a simple one that I grew up with, and I'm going to break it down for you into the essential components, and you can try any kind of variation on it that you like. So to start out with, we're going to take a look at the meat. I have got some bone-in meat here. This is a nice shank, beef shank. You can use lamb, mutton, basically anything, any type of meat that you can put in. I've got about 4 pounds here with the bones in. If you're getting a boneless cut, you can go for around 3 pounds. This is going to serve about 8 to 10 people. And typically, I usually cook with bone-in whenever possible, because obviously it's going to provide a lot more flavor, and you get all the nutrients and the bone marrow and all that type of stuff permeating through your dish. For the veggies, we've got 3 nice Yukon Gold potatoes. You can use any type of potato. We're going to chop those up. We've got a couple of nice vine ripened red tomatoes. We've got 3 medium-sized onions. We've got about 2 to 3 normal-sized carrots. I've got some baby carrots that I'm going to be using here. We're going to grind up about a tablespoon of ginger, a few cloves of garlic, a couple of bay leaves, and that's going to be the basis for our veggies. You can end up putting in whatever kind of veggies you like into a curry, or you can just make a simple veggie curry and leave out the meat. The important part of what makes a curry is going to be the spices. And center stage for the spices, we've got some curry powder. You can make up your own curry powder. I found a pretty nice one that we get from Jimbo's here, and I've got about 3 teaspoons. That's going to give it a kind of medium to mild heat. Candace and Kaylin don't really appreciate the exceptionally hot curries. You can add more or less as your taste desires. And then I've got a few other spices that are actually included in most curry powders, but because I'm not using a huge amount of curry powder, I'm adding extra amounts of these spices. And those are a teaspoon of paprika, about a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, a teaspoon of coriander, a teaspoon of turmeric, and about a 1/4 teaspoon to 1/2 teaspoon of garam masala. Now, one of the other great things about curry is that all of the spices that you put in have got a lot of other healing benefits and nutritional benefits as well. So a curry is a great addition to your weekly menu. We try and have it about once a week so we can get all these great nutrients and spices into our diet. So hopefully I can convince you to do the same. So to start off with, we're going to use our trusty Dutch oven, or some kind of a ceramic pot that you can take from the stove top and into the oven. We're going to preheat the oven to 250. We're going to put it in a little bit later. We're just going to set that to preheat. We're going to turn this on, and we're going to first brown the meat in some oil. I've got some beef tallow that I rendered in one of my previous videos. You can take a look on how to do that, or you could use olive oil or any one of the nut oils that you're good with. About 1/4 cup works well. We're going to brown the meat first, then we're going to add in the onions and the garlic and that type of stuff, and the veggies towards the end. We're going to stick everything into the oven. So once the oil or the tallow is heated up, we're just going to lay these in, allow them to get a nice brown crust on one side, and then we're going to flip them over. After about 5 minutes, we can flip our meat, get the other side nice and brown as well. I prefer keeping my meat whole, because we're going to basically slow cook this. The meat's going to just fall off the bone later on. But if you've got cube steak or cut up meat, or you prefer using meat that's been chopped up, that's perfectly fine as well. There you can see the marrow in the bones. This is going to add a lot of flavor and a lot of nutrients into it. And one other thing to note is that you don't need to get a really good cut of meat. In fact, the worse the cut of meat, the better your curry is going to taste. All the connective tissue and bone and sinew are going to break down once we've slow cooked it, and it's going to add so much to that flavor, and it's not going to be tough, it's going to be super tender in the end. So while the meat is busy browning, we're just going to prepare the rest of our ingredients to go in. I've just taken some of the ginger root, and I've sliced a piece about an inch long, about 3/4 of an inch wide, that I've taken the skin off, and I'm just going to finely grate it up. I want to get about a tablespoon of ginger. Fresh ginger is really good, very aromatic, but you can use powdered ginger or ginger paste, whatever you have available. So ginger is another one of curry's ingredients that has got a lot of really good health benefits, so be sure to add it in to make your curry taste extra good, as well as getting all those health benefits. So we're going to do a little bit more, just go through the rest of this. So next we're going to take a couple of cloves of garlic. Just going to rip off the outside leaves. I'll take 3 cloves. Just going to give them a little smash to make it easier to get them out of their skins. Just give the garlic a chop. And we're just going to put that there next to the ginger, and we're going to throw the onions, garlic and ginger in next. So now we're just going to finely dice up the 3 onions. Doesn't have to be that fine. These are going to pretty much cook away by the time you eat the dinner. Okay, so the meat is nicely browned on both sides now. I'm going to put the onions and the garlic and the ginger in, and get them nice and softened and brown. And once we've done that, we'll add in the rest of the ingredients. So once you've got them in the pot, now what you want to do is get them under your meat. So if you've got your meat chopped up, it's not an issue, you can just stir it around. But the way I like doing it, so I've got the big chunks of meat, I just lift them up and get all the onion, garlic, and ginger underneath them, and it can brown at the bottom, just like that. Another 5 minutes or so, and that'll be nice and softened and brown. Okay, so we're just going to chop up the rest of our veggies so that as soon as the onions are finished browning, we can start adding them. And what we're going to do just before we do that, before we put the veggies in, is put the spices in. You want to put the spices in quite near the beginning. There's 2 ways to do it. One is the spices can be the first thing you put in and get them nice and browned in the oil. Or the way I like doing it is to get the meat browned first, and then the onions and garlic browned, and then before putting any of the veggies or adding any liquid, to then put the spices in, because you kind of need that hot oil to bring out a lot of the flavors within the spices. So we're just going to dice up 2 large tomatoes. Just just halve it, take the ends out. Just run the knife through. You can skin them if you want, but with the length of time that this is going to cook, you're not even going to notice the tomato skins, especially if you cut them up fine like this. It's going to come out in a nice thick sauce in the end. So you can either peel your potatoes or leave the skins on. I'm going to leave the skins on, and we're just going to get them into pieces that are probably about that size. So it's about 1 inch cubes. Alright, the rest of our veggies are ready to go in, but first we're going to put all the spices in. The onions are looking nice and tender. I've combined all my spices into one little bowl. It makes it easier to put in. I'm just going to add another splash of extra virgin olive oil just to make sure that there's plenty of oil in here for these spices to land in. Now I'm just going to lift some of these pieces of meat up so I can get my spices down into the bottom, and I'm just going to sprinkle it around. You can sprinkle on top of the meat. We'll flip some of the meat over and we'll just get everything nice and coated. The main thing you want to do is make sure that your spices land up in the fat or the tallow and the oil at the bottom of the pan so that the hot oil can bring the flavors out. So we give the spices about 2 minutes in the hot oil to get all their flavors out, and then we start adding in the other ingredients. We're going to start with the tomato. And then we're going to add in about a cup of stock. I've got some beef stock here that we're going to add in. You can use chicken stock or anything else, it doesn't really matter. It's just going to enhance the flavor and add in a lot more nutrients. We're going to add in the potatoes. And our carrots. And 2 cups of filtered water. Going to add in about a tablespoon of vinegar. I'm using balsamic vinegar. You can use any kind of vinegar that you want. It's going to give it a little bit of a tang, and it's also going to help to draw the nutrients out of the bones that you got in here. Okay. Next, 2 tablespoons of chutney. This is South African chutney, Mrs. Ball's chutney. That is pretty traditional in South Africa, but you can use peach preserves or anything like that. It's going to give it a very slightly sweet flavor, and just add to that texture and add some complex flavors to it. Lastly, we're going to add in our 3 bay leaves, put the meat grease paste, and we're going to add in a couple of pinches of salt just to bring out all the flavors. You can add in more salt later to taste, but that should be good for now. We're going to give it a last stir. Okay, we're just going to give it a last stir. Try and combine everything together. And we're going to pop it in the oven. Alright, so we've got all the ingredients in. We're going to put this in the oven for about 4 hours now, 3 to 4 hours. And we're going to put it in the second to bottom rack in the middle. The oven's at 250, 3 to 4 hours, and we're going to have a delicious meal tonight. Alright, so it's been 4 hours. We're about to get our curry out of the oven. I've got my assistant back from school, and let's take a look how our curry has turned out. We're just going to take it out and put it on a trivet. You ready? Let's take a look. How cool is that? Yeah, there's some bay leaves in there. So let's see. It does look like we might need to thicken it up slightly. Okay, so we're going to break up the meat. You can see how nice and tender it is. I'm breaking it up with a spoon. And look there, what have I got here? Ah, what's so good about the marrow bone? Marrow. Yeah, you love marrow, right? Alright, so we've taken all the bones out. We've broken up the meat. The process has broken up some of the potatoes, so it's thickened up a little bit, but we're going to thicken it up a little bit more. What are we going to use to thicken it up?
We are going to use some nut butter.
What kind of nut butter is this?
It's almond nut butter.
Almond butter,
favorite
right.
nut.
Yeah. So we're going to use maybe about 2 tablespoons.
Well, why are you putting it in there?
To thicken it up.
The spoon.
Yeah. Well, that was about 1 tablespoon.
Because you're going to put it back in there.
Yeah, no, I won't put it back in. I'll get a new one.
Now don't put it in there again.
Well, that should be enough. Alright, so the nut butter is thickened up quite nicely. You can see the consistency. It's a nice thick sauce from the onion and the ginger and everything else that we've added into it. We're just going to add a pinch of salt to taste.
And I'm going to do that.
Okay, come on, add a nice pinch of salt. I tasted it. It needs like that. A decent pinch. Yeah. Okay, like that. Okay, sprinkle it all over. All over. Okay. No, that's plenty. Okay, one last stir. Let's find one of the other bay leaves, taking that out. So this has been Gavin from Authentic Human. You can catch us on authentic-human.com, or you can follow me on Twitter at Gavin Stone. And I hope you guys really enjoyed the curry that we made for you today, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Hope I see you soon.